2 o'clock.
There it is. It's 2 o'clock. Okay. Well, so hi again for the 17th time. I'm Christian Boyce in the dining room, kitchen behind me, and we're going to do a class about photos on the Mac today. Okay, this is going to be editing photos on the Mac using the Photos application. So I hope you were able to download the files to work with today. And it's going to be really fun, a hands-on thing. Before we go into the class, let me just say this is our official last class of this series. I didn't know that the coronavirus was going to go on this long, so I almost got to 19, like COVID-19. We've done 17. Now I'm going to continue to do classes, little different format, probably a subscription format. So eventually, in the end, I got to pay my bills. So we're going to have a subscription for this with the occasional free class. So you can still go back to my website and look at the recordings from the classes that we've done. They're not all up there yet. It takes me a couple hours. In fact, it takes me more like 4 hours to edit them down and make everything right and put them up to YouTube and put them up to Vimeo and do all the things. So those will continue to be there, and watch for some emails from me in the coming days about what we're offering next. And of course, I'll take suggestions as well. I have my own ideas, but I would love to get your input. Okay, now, so today we're going to be working on photos using the Photos program that's in 10.15 Catalina. Now, if you have an older version of Photos because you're using, say, Mojave or High Sierra, it's almost exactly the same. If you're using something older than that, it's not exactly the same, but the ideas are still applicable to what what's going to work for you. So so stay with us. And even if your Mac is really quite old, who knows? You might get a new one day, Mom, and it would have the right system on it. Okay, so let's share the screen, and we'll bring up Photos starting now. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's my screen, here's my photos, and here's our pictures. So we're going to start with this picture of the mural on the wall. And we're going to learn a lot with that. We'll spend a lot of time with that one, and then the other things will go a little more quickly. So in the same way that we had with the photos on the iPhone, if you don't know where to start, you can start with by making a duplicate of a picture. That's always nice, so you don't worry about messing it up. And you can also use the magic wand to give you a head start on things. Now I'm gonna do some things without the magic wand today, so you can really see how it works. So let's start with this picture. If you have this picture of the mural on the wall, let's click on that. And if you control click on it, you will see duplicate one photo. So this is a good habit to get into. I know you can revert, but it's nice to be able to see the two pictures side by side when you're done. And it gives you extra safety. So we're going to duplicate one photo like this. And what should happen now, I've got two. I'll use the new one. So let's just double click that picture. When you do, if you're using a fairly modern version of Photos, you'll see at the top right an edit button. If you don't see an edit button, it may look like 3 little horizontal sliders. That's the same thing. Let's go edit this. All right, so here we are. We're going to edit this. Now, when you do, when you edit in Photos, you get all of these things. I'm going to close them all up to make them look a little neater. But you can see there are an awful lot of things here. And we're just going to do them a little at a time. And by the time we're done today, you're going to be a whole lot better. So anyway, so here are all the different things you can do. All kinds of adjustments here. You can see light, color, black and white, and so on. But those aren't the only tools we've got here. We have, if you look across the top, there's adjustment tools, there's filters up here, adjustment tools, filters, and cropping. If you jump down to the bottom right corner of your handout, you'll see I have some keyboard shortcuts for you. I want you to try these now. If you just tap a C, it jumps over to the cropping. You type an A, it's back to the adjustments. You type an F, and it's in the filters. We're going to do the M in a minute. So let's go to C. We're going to do some cropping. We're in the cropping mode, and you see you get this nice wheel over here. Now we can crop, if we want to crop, we can just grab a corner and crop. Corners let you do it in both directions. The edges just let you move it in one direction. So you can crop it as you like, but what I really want to do is straighten it. So let's grab this little blue knob here and let's make it straight. And how I can tell it's straight is those palm trees should be more or less straight, and these little posts in the parking lot should be more or less straight too. So something like this looks good to me. Now I'm going to look at these, at the different cropping options here on the right. I was using a freeform cropping, but if you knew that you had to fit this picture when we're done into, say, an 8x10 frame, you would click on 8x10, and then no matter what you do, it's always sized right to be 8x10. Even if you're sloppy with the cursor, it's still going to be an 8x10. So that's a really neat feature. Once you've done that, you can still grab the picture and you can move it around inside the 8x10 frame. So, you're either going to do it freehand or you're going to pick one of these. And you can also, if what I wanted was a vertical one, I could have a vertical button here. And we can also flip it, which I'd like you to do. Let's flip it. Now, I wanted this picture to go like this because I kind of looked from left to right. And to me, it seemed like the right thing to do. So that's what I want to do. So let's just practice that. Okay, you've got the flip button. You hit it again. It flips away again. So very easy. Okay, and now you may remember on Tuesday, we were using the phone to straighten out a building that seemed like it was kind of leaning back. We don't have that perspective option here. So there's some things in the phone's Photos app that's better than here, and that's one of them. Okay, but now that we've done this, let's go to the adjusting. And so I'm just going to tap the letter A to jump to all the adjustments. Here they are. It's a really neat shortcut. So we can start with the magic wand. So here's the magic wand up here. This is technically auto enhance, but to me it's a magic wand. So when you do it, the picture looks a little better. If you're not sure, if you can't remember what it looked like before, you can just press the letter M and the picture changes to how it was. You let go again, it's how it is. So the M gets you back to the original minus the cropping and the flipping, okay? So great, now what I wanna do is I want the whites to be really white, okay? Really, really white. And I want the blacks to be really, really black. If you look at the mural, the whites are a little dingy, and if you look in particular in the parking lot, the parking lot is also many shades of black. It's not really uniformly black. I want to clean that up a little bit. So we're going to do both those things. So I'm going to start up here where it says light in this section here. You can see with the blue check marks, these are things that the adjusting wand did for us. So let's look at the light and see what they did. So I'm going to skip a lot of it. You can play with it all you want. You can grab this slider and move it back and forth, and you can see different things. Perfectly fine. If you mess it up too much, you can hit where it says auto, and it puts it back the way they think it should be. But I'm going to work with the black point. So the black point is that level of darkness after which everything else that's darker than it is pure black. So when we look at this parking lot, there's a lot of shades of black. I want to make them really black. So what I do is I grab this slider here, and if I move it to the right, you can see things are getting really black, including the murals quite blacker too. So this is the extreme, really black. This is the other bad extreme. So we're gonna go to the right a little bit, make this blacker. So that's easy. Now I want to work with the white also. Okay, we're gonna change the color of the wall in a minute, but let's do the white here. So when you take a picture, sometimes whites don't come out white, and sometimes skin tones don't come out like skin tones. So you end up with a kind of a skewed color wheel that it's sort of rotated around a little bit. So we want to get it back. So what I'm going to do is go to the color section here, and I'm going to actually, I changed my mind on that. That was not what I meant to do. I'm going to go down here to the white balance, and I'm going to set this to neutral gray. And when you do that, and then you click on this eyedropper, they tell you what to do. They tell you down at the bottom, choose a neutral gray. So I'm going to actually pick a white, and that'll work too. So I'm going to click on something that's white with my eyedropper, and you can see that the white's got whiter. And it also changed the wall to be more like what I remembered it being. Now we can make those whites even whiter, and I'm going to show you that in just a little bit. But for now, the idea is when there's a certain color that you know was a certain way, if you either a skin tone or a white or a neutral gray, you can use this eyedropper to click on it. If you click in the wrong place, suppose I clicked in the blue, if I say that this is a neutral gray, you see it changes the picture and it's really wrong. So I'm gonna undo that and put it where it belongs. Okay, now we're going to change the color. This is a really neat thing to do. Once we learn how to do this, we're going to change the color of some flowers on our next picture. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go down here to where it says Selective Color. Sometimes there's a picture that is a pretty good picture, and you either don't remember it being like this, you remember it being better, or you think that maybe you could improve it. If you were the one who got to design this mural, you would have picked a different color. Well, here's what we do. Selectively, we're going to change colors. We're not going to just increase saturation like we could. We're going to pick a different color. So first thing we do is we go to the selective color area. Then we click on this eyedropper. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the eyedropper. We're going to pick the color we want to change. So I'm going to pick some of this pink. I'm going to come out here and just click where it's clearly pink. Now nothing happens, but now you've got these sliders. Now I'm going to take this hue button and I'm going to move it one way or the other, okay? Now I think it looks better like this. So I'm going to leave it like this. However, we can also control how close to that pink color that I clicked on does a color have to be before we change it. Because if you look at this wall kind of carefully, it didn't all change. So that's where you use this range down at the bottom. If I pull this range to the right, more of the wall is going to change. If I pull it to the left, almost none of it's going to change. So I'm going to pull it to the right. So now I've got this purple wall. Now, if you use our friend the M key, M for make sure you remember how it used to look, press the M, you can see what it used to look like. Look at the whites in the woman with her arm here. They kind of look blue. Now they look white. Okay, we fixed it. We fixed it. The blacks are better, the blues, the whites are better, and the wall looks better. All right, we're gonna do one more thing. We're gonna really jack up the white. So there are far too many things in here for me to explain everything to you in an hour. But so I've skipped a few. But we're gonna do one more thing, which is levels. So in levels, you have this chart that to a lot of people means a whole lot of nothing. Just remember this, think of this as sort of the bell-shaped curve that you're hoping to have when you are giving an exam as a school teacher and you're going to have this distribution of grades. Well, you can see here, everyone got a C, just about, a few B's and no A's. And over here, this is sort of the zeros, all right? These are the F's. So, but that, to us, what that means is there's not very much that's there's a lot of black, then there's almost no gray, and then there's a whole lot of stuff that's sort of in the middle in terms of brightness, and there's almost nothing that's pure white. We are going to change that to make some pure white. So what you do is if you grab the middle knob, if you move it if you move it to the right, you make it darker. You move the knob to the left to make it lighter. We're not going to do that. We are going to grab the right knob, the far right knob, and as we move it to the left, things get really bright. So this is, if you swing it around, and you can see there's a point where it's too far, but you remind yourself again. You can tap the M and hold it down. You can see sort of dingy, and it's really nice and white. So the levels is a really important thing to at least play with. Try tucking in the white. This is the white point here on the end. Try pulling in the black point just a little bit too, and see. My clicker's not so good. I'll get there. There I go. You see, as I pull this, it's also making the blacks sort of blacker, uniformly more black. So skip these middle ones for now, but the middle, the very middle, and the two ends, those will do a lot of good for you. Way better than using brightness and contrast. So you're just going to have to practice and see, but that's where the action is. Just remember, it goes from dark to light. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to do something really, really interesting, I think. If you look where I'm pointing here, there's a light, and then there's a tiny little white speck. I'm going to zoom in on that. We have our ways of zooming in. There's more than one way always. If you use the slider here, you can make it bigger. That's one way. And you can use it with the hand here. I can pull this down so we can kind of have it centered. So if you look very closely there, you see that it turns out there's a bird right here. And I like birds, but the problem with this bird is when we go back to this full view, it just looks dirty. It just looks like a little white spot. So how are we going to fix this? Well, what we're going to do is we are going to touch up this bird. We're going to make the bird disappear. And this technique you can also use. Let's say you had a picture of somebody and he had a freckle, like there's one here, might be one here, and you want that freckle to go away. Same technique that I'm using here. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to scroll down here, and we're going to go to where it says, I can find it, not in Selective Color, Retouch. We're going to use the Retouch, okay? So look for this Retouch section. And what you do is if you just put your, if you click on this little brush here, this is a retouching brush. If I go out here, you see how big my brush is. It's really quite big. We don't want that. You want to make your brush just big enough to cover what you are trying to remove. So I'm going to pull this back quite a bit like this. Now it's about right. And all I'm going to do is one little click, okay? Just a click. And, well, my cursor is wrongly sized because I've blown up the cursor, so I have to kind of cheat a little bit, make it a little bigger. And you can see the birds disappeared. Now for you, it should just be one click. If you make a circle, a brush that's big enough to cover up the whole bird, one click and it's gone, okay? So that's a pretty neat thing. I hope you're able to do that because it's gonna come in handy when you've got a blemish on somebody's face. It's the same idea. If you had, let's say, for some reason you had little wrinkles right here, you do the same thing. You can kind of brush over them. You can either click on a spot or you can sort of brush over things. It's doing a blurring. So if the blurring is, if you do too much, it's not going to be a good thing. So you can't do too much of it. But anyhow, we've done it now. And if we look at our picture, there's no more white spot there. So that's nice. Okay, we are going to move on to our next picture. If you don't remember how this looked, let's just tap the M and you say, wow, this has really changed. It's really better. And now I can't remember what it really looked like when I took the picture, but I like the way we did it. Okay, let's go on to page 2. So our next picture, so I'm gonna click done here, and I'm gonna go back to our pictures, and I'm gonna get our next one, which is gonna be these Texas wildflowers. And I'm gonna do what I did before. I'm gonna control and click and duplicate the picture, and I'm gonna work on the duplicate. And you can see how nice it is for me to look at these two pictures side by side and say, yeah, this one's way better. At least it's what I wanted. So let's click on the second wildflower picture, the duplicated wildflower picture. And now in this here, I want you to change the color of these orange flowers here. So do we know how to do this? Yes, we do. We're going to go to Edit again. Okay, I'll give you a hint. We did it in the previous one, and it was in this section called Selective Color. So I'm going to tell you quickly. This is the second time I'm telling you, and I want to tell you 3 times. All right. So we're going to click on the eyedropper, click on the color, use the slider. Okay. I'm going to make mine pink like this. Now you'll notice it changed in the background. These are things that aren't even connected to it. And if I need to change more, I could use this slider here. Now you see if I go too far, those yellow daisies have a little bit of pink in them and I'm messing them up. So I'm gonna go back. I don't want to do that. I want the daisies to still look like daisies while I have these flowers changed. What do we always do? We press the letter M and you can see, boy, that's really good. Have you got it? Have you got it? Good, I think you got it. So here's what we're gonna do now. This is the really amazing miracle feature. When you take a picture like this is probably not the only picture you're gonna take of wildflowers. Even in that very location, you're probably gonna take multiple pictures. So I'm gonna make this one the way I like it, like this. I'll just tap my M again and hold it down to remind me what it looked like. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is I am going to try to apply the exact same adjustments to another picture of wildflowers. So here's what you do. You hold down the control key and you click on your picture and you copy adjustments, all right? We could have made a lot of adjustments and we'd be copying all of them right now, but we're just gonna say copy adjustments just for this one little selective color. I'm done with that picture, so I'm not gonna do anything. To be careful, I copied it, but I gotta paste it somewhere. So I'm gonna come down to this picture. I want these flowers to look like those flowers. So I'm going to control click again, make my duplicate, edit my duplicate, I hope. Okay, go to edit here. And now without doing anything over there on the right-hand side, I'm just going to control click on this picture and paste adjustments. And look, it changed. If you don't remember, just hold the M key down. It was orange, now it's purple, okay? Amazing, yes, yes. This is one thing I miss about doing this the way we're doing it, because if we were in a classroom, I think you would all be clapping or standing up on the desks and cheering, because this saves you an incredible amount of time. Just remember what we did one of them right, we control clicked to copy those adjustments, then we found another picture, and we control clicked and pasted those adjustments, okay? It's all here on the handout for refresh your memory. Let's go on to the next one. Here's a black and white picture. And this picture, of course, famous picture. Let's say done to this. Let's go back to our pictures. We're gonna use this black and white here. We're not gonna go to my friend Tom with the Yankee shirt just yet. We're gonna use the black and white. So control, duplicate. So this picture, it was kind of a dingy version of this picture. I was looking for a black and white picture, and of course we all know this picture, but it's not the way I remember it. So somehow this one's kind of dirty. It's not as sharp and as contrasty as I recall. So what we're going to do here is we're going to edit this. We're trying to make it look the way we think it's supposed to look. And as usual, you have a lot of options that you certainly could do an automatic, and it does that, right? Magic wand here. I'm going to undo the magic wand. Let's just go down to the black and white section here. Special section for black and white. So it's easier to start with the neutrals. If you start with the neutrals and you move it left and right, you can see what I'm doing here. And there's no real rules here. You do it until you like the way it looks. Tone is a little more subtle. Not much will happen with the tone as the neutrals. I mean, I can make it too dark, of course, but intensity is how much of the black and white is. How black and white is it? Is it sort of gray and white? Is it black and white? So there's not a giant change here, but you can see when I go far to the right, it blows out the area around here. It becomes too bright. So we're not going to mess up this famous picture. Let's keep it better than it was. But remember the M key. We can see what it was, and you can see what it is. And you know, now I can't remember what it was really supposed to look like. But I think the reproduction I had of it was not so good. So that's why I've fixed it up like this. Where it says grain. Grain is if you want film grain to show. If I pull this to the right, it gets grainy. Now this picture doesn't have great resolution, so you don't see a lot of grain, but you usually don't want to either. If that's something you want, then you pull the grain over. If it's not, then you don't. If you want to see what they would have done automatically, you see where it says auto in these tiny little letters. If I click auto, this is what they think the picture should be. You see they've slid this slider over here like this. So you can move this around too, do what you want. And if you want to get back to auto, just click auto. If you want to help the auto out, help it out. Okay, so that's easy stuff. Easy. I think I'm going to sharpen this a little bit too. So if we look down here far enough down, we will find sharpen. And you know that there's no sharpening being done yet because this circle here, this blue one, isn't checked. Now, if I ask the program to do it automatically for us, I'll click auto, and they do the sharpening that they think they should do. If I'm not sure what it looked like before, I can just turn off the auto, and or turn off the blue dot, by the way, and you see a little bit. I'm going to pull edges and fall off over. When you do this like this, you start to see a little bit more sharpening, but fall off should do even more. So it's not a great bit of sharpening, but there's some. And while we're at it, let's do definition 2. So if we grab the slider here, now you can see things like the shirt. Look at the shirt, turns out to be a checkered shirt that you really didn't notice when it was like this. So sharpening is for edges, like hair, 2 colors of hair, blonde hair against darker brown hair. And definition is really for sort of regions. So you do what you want to do, and I'm going to press the letter M again and remind us what it looked like before. And I think it's better now. Okay, so yeah, terrific. I mean, the picture is great, but I think the reproduction was bad, and I think I've improved it. So we're going to click done on that too. All right, now we're going to do some things that are really, really fun. So I want to look at this so-called portrait mode. So in the newer phones, starting with, I believe, the iPhone 7, 7S, maybe the 8, you can take portrait mode pictures. So here's a portrait mode picture I took of my friend Tom. And when you do a portrait mode picture, it knocks out the background and it adjusts the light to make it look like you really set the subject up in a photo studio. So we're gonna do some more adjustments there. So let's do some of those. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna edit. Now remember, there's 2 things you need here. First of all, you need a portrait mode picture. I show you in the handout what you would do up here. You would be not just taking a photo or a video, you'd slide over to portrait. If you don't see portrait, it means that your phone doesn't know how to do it. Okay, so fortunately I had this picture of Tom for us to practice on. So we can do all the things we normally do. We can crop, and we can do various adjustments. But what we're really going to do here is we're going to look down here where it says portrait down here at the bottom. It says that it's portrait mode picture. I'm going to click on the first circle. This is how the picture was. This is the real picture. This is Tom and the background. And one of the things the portrait mode does is it blurs the background to give you the effect that you've taken sort of a more professional picture as opposed to sort of a snapshot. So we're going to work through these. So we have the normal mode here, which is the natural look. Then we have the studio look, and you can see how this changes. It's as if there's a floodlight on Tom when we click these different things. This one, contour is nice. So contour contour shades people, and it makes, you can see that his cheeks are darker, and it gives you, in a way, it's sort of slimming because it makes this darker and it gives you sort of better cheekbones. So this can be really popular with a lot of people. If you ask Tom which one he liked best, he'd probably say one of somebody else. But if you don't see those buttons, if you don't see these portrait buttons down here, you may have too old a version of photos. If you're not on 1013, 1014, or 1015, you don't see them. Something to look forward to. This one over here is stage lighting, where it knocks out the background. This one here is stage lighting, but it's monochromatic. So what we want to do, though, I just want you to see that we know how to do these things, that we can do these things. But what we're really going to do is we're going to crop, because we're good at that. So let's go to the crop tool. Remember, you get to the crop with a C. If I type a C, I'll end up right here as if I did it. So you have your A's, you got your F's, you got your C's, right? So I'm going to crop this a little bit. Just because it's a portrait mode picture doesn't mean that you can't crop it. So I've cropped it, and I'm going to make sure Tom doesn't fall off the top there. Now what I want to do, I want you to make this Nike logo go away. How do we do this? Well, remember, we're going to go to Adjust. We're going to go to Retouch. We're going to get a brush, and we're going to make sure our brush is big enough with our slider so that we can wipe out this Nike logo. So I'm just going to paint right over it. If you miss it, just go back and keep the mouse button down and get it. Goodbye Nike logo. Unbelievable. Nothing wrong with Nike. I just wanted to see that we could do it. Okay. So I'm also going to go back to the regular natural light here. I liked this look more than the other one. Too dramatic. And I'm going to add another little effect that we haven't done before. We're going to do a vignette. So if we come down here to vignette, at the very, very bottom of all the adjustments, we're going to take, first of all, I'm going to check the little box here, and I'm going to take this radius tool here. I'm going to make this go like this. If I go this way, it's making it like a black, it's as if it's a black border that's sort of fuzzy and leaving the middle clear. So if I go this way, it becomes brighter on the outside. This way we're going darker like this. So it looks really good. Let's make this a little stronger, so more dramatic. Now you see what I'm doing. Okay, so you've got the strength, you've got the radius to maybe push it out, and how does it fade with the softness? Okay, so I kind of like it. I'm gonna go just a little bit stronger. Yeah, so I'm gonna do like this. So it kind of hides parts of the background that were that maybe were just a little distracting, but it's still better, I think, like this than it was like this. Okay, that's too dramatic. So I'm going to go with this. So now you know what a vignette is, how to do it. If you wonder what this used to look like, remember, what do we always do? We press the letter M, and here's what it looked like. Okay, there's the Nike logo coming back, and now we've done this. There's one more thing I can do with a picture like this. When you're working with photos, you have the tools you get are the tools you get, except if you have other editing tools, other painting programs, you might find more tools. And where you would find them is under this little circle with the dots. When you click on this, you see other tools that have just magically shown up here. So these showed up because I own this program, Affinity Photos and Affinity Designer, and this other one called Pixelmator. Both really great apps, both really inexpensive, way better value than Photoshop. Maybe we should have a class. All right. So they've installed themselves in there. I didn't do this. Okay, when I installed the programs, they installed these little pieces into my Photos app, and I didn't even know they were there until I went to look when I was making this handout for you. So look at one of the things we can do. If I choose one of these tools, I get a new tool that isn't really part of the program. So here what I'm going to use, I'm going to use this warp tool from my Pixelmator installation. And I'm going to make Tom smile. So I kind of caught him between smiles. He was either on his way to smiling or had just smiled, and it's not that great a picture. So I'm going to use this button that says warp, and I'm going to have to pull this down a little bit. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull up the corner of his mouth. Okay, I'm going to click here, and I can't zoom in here to show you, but I will zoom in at the end. So I'm up right here. I'm going to click, and I'm just going to pull up. So clicking and pulling up. Okay, so he's smiling. I could go further. Okay, he's really smiling. Okay, it's a better picture. I better do the other side too. I'm gonna get a little bit smaller brush here. All right, so I know this is cheating, but you know, I haven't seen Tom since March because of the COVID-19. So I got to do this. I couldn't go see him to take a picture. All right, there are other tools in here. If you look at some of these other ones, like pinch. If you think your nose is too big, you can use the pinch tool. Here I'm going to make Tom's nose smaller. So I'm going to use this pinch tool, and I'm just going to click and hold, and you'll see his nose hopefully getting smaller and smaller. I'm not seeing much of an effect. Let me make this bigger. Make this bigger. We'll see a stronger effect here. There you go. You see his nose is getting pointy. If that's obviously too far, we'll undo that. But the rest of it's fine. The smile's great. So I'm going to say save changes. And I know they give you this little message here, but don't worry. And in case we remember, we can't remember what this looked like, what do we always do? M for make sure you remember what it looked like. Look at this picture. You see he's not smiling, and now he is. Okay? It's a whole different thing. It even looks like his eyes change. I don't know how this works, but it works. Okay? So that's how that goes. All right. It is like magic. It is like magic. And I'm going to do one more thing here. The hair here, I'm going to sharpen it. Let's just do what we've done before. I'm going to just click where it says auto, and it's going to make some changes. Let's go a little more with the edges. I think you start to see his hair. Look, let's zoom in on the hair. So here's the hair. Let's make this go stronger, this goes stronger, and make it more intense. And if you wonder what it looked like, again, I'll press the M, and it's not a lot sharper. It's not a lot sharper, but it's as sharp as we can make it. Okay, so we're done with that one. Let's move on. All right, so here's a picture. We're gonna go back to get another picture. Here's a picture of me. And so this is what happens when you're under, house arrest. There's nobody to take a picture of. So I needed a second picture. So I had to take a picture of me. So we're going to improve this picture. So let's, now the reason I want to show you this picture is it's a little bit better of a portrait mode picture because it was taken with a better phone. So the first picture of Tom, the picture of Tom was taken iPhone 8 and knew how to do certain things. The picture of me was taken with my iPhone XS, which can do more. So let's look at that picture. Let's go to edit. And when we do this, the big difference is where you see all the portrait mode buttons across the bottom, you see an extra button and you also see depth. So take a look here at the lights on the ceiling here and the kitchen in the background. I'm going to click where it says depth, and I'm going to pull this knob to the right, and they become into focus. I'm going to go back to the left, and they've blurred out. So this is really neat. This is for a pro photographer would have done that with his aperture to get the right depth of field. But for us, we do this after the fact. So Oh, the question's been asked about the additional app to do that smile. Yes, you would need to buy Pixelmator, but I think it's $29. Get it at the Mac App Store. Enough of you get it, I'll teach you how to use it. All right. It's a great app, Pixelmator. You don't need Pixelmator Pro. Get the regular Pixelmator. Okay, so here I've changed the depth. As if I got a chance to come back and take this picture. So you see the background is changing. That's because it's a better picture because it was taken with a better camera. So you may be able to adjust my picture, but you may not be able to take more pictures like that unless you have iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pro, 11 Pro Max, or a 10S or a 10R, maybe even a 10. But I just wanted you to see that. Now let's do something else. So this is the regular natural lighting. I'm going to go with the contour lighting. Watch what happens on the cheeks here. So when we do the contour lighting, it becomes a little bit, almost looks like they're flattened out, which is fine with me because I think when COVID-19 refers to the 19 pounds that I've gained since we've been stuck in the house, no exercise. So I'm gonna go with the contour, but now what I want you to do is I want you to see if you can help fix a few flaws here. Here's a freckle. You see this freckle that's right underneath my grabber hand here. We want that freckle to go away. How do we do this? Well, what do? We scroll down till we find Retouch. We click on the Retouch brush. We get a brush that's about as big as the freckle, just big enough to cover it up. Come out here and click, and goodbye freckle, all right? If you have to click again, you click again. Okay, here's, if we zoom in some more, here's some sort of crow's feet. Where'd they come from? I don't know. Too much smiling. So what we're going to do is we're going to retouch that too. So again, we get the Retouch brush. And too big a brush will not be good for us. So we're going to, let's start with this one. I'm just going to click and sort of paint over that line. That took care of that. Let's see if I can paint over this one. So Retouch brush to the rescue. Wow. Okay, a little bit more here. Get rid of that one. Okay, I think I'm ready for my close-up. Okay, so that's how we do it. If you forget what I look like, what do we always do? We press the M and you see, holy cow, I like contour lighting. I look, boy, I wish real life could work like this. So that's with the M down. Here's with the M up. I do see one extra credit. Here's one little eyebrow that needs to be plucked, but I'm going to virtually pluck it here with my Retouch brush. I'm just going to come down here like this, carefully. Wow, if only life were this easy. Okay, so have you got it? Did you do it? Okay, I hope you did it. Here's another freckle. Why not get rid of this? Okay. All right, good. So there you go. Now there are other imperfections. You want to make other. You want to practice with some other imperfections. You have at it. And you could sharpen this. You could crop it. You do whatever you want to do with it. But the main thing is to learn about these portrait modes. Pick the one you want, and if you see this depth thing, play with it, because boy, does that make a difference. I mean, look at this versus when we started. It was like this. What a difference. It's really great to knock the background out. So if you got portrait mode on your phone, take portrait mode pictures and then get them onto your Mac, which of course would happen through iCloud, and then play with it. Okay, let's do one more. We're going to do something with movies. And so with movies, you'd be surprised, I think, that there are fewer things that you can do on the Mac with movies in Photos than what you can do on the iPhone with movies. So on Tuesday, we did a few things. We cropped, we adjusted brightness and sharpening and all kinds of things like that. But and we changed the length of the movie, brought in the ends. We can't do those things here. We can do some of it. But we can't do all of it. So let's say we're done here. I'm gonna click done. Let's go back and let's go find our movie. So I have one movie here. This is a movie file that we saw on Tuesday, and I'm using this again because I want you to see how it works when you're doing it in Photos on the Mac. Now you see, when I clicked the movie to begin with, it came right up like this. I could play it, okay, but I went to edit here. What do I get? Like nothing. I can't crop it. I can't click on filters. I don't have any adjustments. There's nothing to do. Okay, so you really don't need to come in here to do this. You could if you want. But right from here, as you move the mouse, you see the controls for the movie. One control that we care about here is in this gear. So if you click the gear, you see some options, and one of them is to trim it. So we're going to trim it in the same way that we did on the iPhone. We're gonna trim it here, and when you do, you see these nice yellow knobs. I'm gonna pull the knob from the right over till I get past the part where I'm sort of wiggling, because I'll just play this for a minute so you are reminded of it's shaky at the beginning. Pretty good here. Pretty good here. Starting to shake. Now I'm that's very, very bad. And now I think I'm going to look at the ground. Terrible. Obviously we're going to cut this end part off. So let's cut the end part off. So we can grab the knobs. You see the oh, what did I made a mistake. Oh, big mistake. We're going to get out of here. I forgot to make a duplicate. Control click, make the duplicate. Because you do not get the option to save as a new file. So we're gonna edit the duplicate like this. I'm gonna go here to trim. Let's pull in the right-hand side until we aren't wiggling anymore. So I'm just pulling, pulling, pulling. You see the time at the top, 17 seconds, 16 seconds. I'm still shaky here. This was only good for about 10 seconds. I'm going to say, oh, let's keep going. You notice that I'm at 14, but it seems as if I'm at the end of the line here. Well, I'm really not. What the Photos app does is it sort of extends the timeline to give you more precision. So don't worry that it looks like we're out of room here. Just be lucky that they do this, because it really makes it quite a bit better. So I've been holding the button down on that yellow handle all this time. I haven't let go yet. All right, so now as I work back here, I think we're good right about to here. Yeah, right about to there. Let's go the other way. So I'm gonna grab the left-hand one, the starting one, and you can see when I clicked it, you can see that our timeline is only this big right now, the yellow part. When I click the handle, it expands so that you've got more room to work. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to pull this to the left until I'm not so shaky, because I was shaky at the beginning. I think right about here, it looks like I'm pretty good for the next little bit. It's just this first second or two was bad. So I'll go back to here. So now I can play this. Okay, so that's my movie as soon as I click where it says trim. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say trim. So remember, they didn't ask me, do you want to save this as a new file like they did on the phone? So just because they're both called Photos and just because they're both from Apple doesn't mean that they're the same. They're not. So we're going to do one more thing here with this little gear. You know, I can play and I can pause. I can grab this slider and I can try to move it around and try to find the exact perfect spot. Maybe there's a picture in here that I really like. If I could just freeze it at just the right spot. but it's a little clumsy to do it with the slider. So what you do instead is you use the gear again, and you go to show scanning buttons. And watch what happens when I do that. These two buttons here, this one here to go forward, this one to go back. This goes, you know, this is going forward and back. But when I do it like this, show the scanning buttons, they're a little bit different, and you know, it's a little bit faster. So if you really wanted to run through it, you'd be done in a hurry. So that's kind of nice. Every time you click it, it gets faster. So if I can go forward, regular speed, double speed, 5 times speed. Or let's go back to the frame stepping buttons. When you do the frame stepping buttons, one little click at the end. Let me start at the beginning. One little click moves it forward 1 frame. One little click, 1 frame, more 1 frame. So every time you hit this, 1 frame at a time. So I'm going to click this a bunch of times till I find exactly the spot I want. So this is 1 movie frame at a time because I want to capture this as a picture. So I'm going to wait till they've got their flags up. Maybe I'll go back here. I think right there. So when I get to the place that I want to be, I can click on our gear one more time, and I can export frame to pictures. Now, what you're probably expecting is that it's going to say export frame to photos. That's what I would have thought it would do, but it doesn't do that. Okay, it does not do that. So when you say export frame to pictures, it puts it in your pictures folder. So I'm going to do that now. And when you do, I'm going to go to the Finder here, and I'm going to find that picture. If I look at my pictures folder here, here's my pictures folder. Everybody has one. And here's the picture I just made today at 2:53. And if I can double click this and look at it. And I could, you may notice that it's a TIFF. I didn't have any control over what file format it was going to be, but I can do this. I can click share, and I'll add this to photos now. So there's other ways to get it in, but we've done it. Now, if I go back here to photos, and if I go back some more here, you'll see that if I look at our recent pictures, I should see the picture I just brought in, and indeed, here it is. This is the picture I just brought in. So if I look at the imports, I think I would also see it as an imported item. Let me just scroll down here as soon as I quit beach balling here. It happens, all right? They're thinking hard. All right, so this is a great time for you to ask questions, and here's one now. Okay, the purpose of the pictures folder. The pictures folder holds your photos library, also holds your iPhoto library if you had one back in the olden days, and it also holds your photo booth library. So it's an important folder. Everybody has one. So in the same way that everyone has a documents folder and a downloads folder and music folder. Okay, so here's our picture. So I could come in here. Now this is just a picture. This is no longer a movie. The movie's still there, but I captured this 1 frame, and so now I can do something good with it. I can go and edit this, do all the things that we would do. So I'm going to magic wand it. It's better already. It needs to be sharper, that's for sure. It needs a lot, but all I have to do is find sharpen. Here it is. Okay, we'll turn on sharpen here. Better already. Forgot what it looked like? Hold the M. Okay, better, right? So, I mean, it's amazing how much better. It wasn't that bad a picture, but it's a whole lot better now. So, okay, so that was the last thing I wanted to show you. So, you've got the pictures. You've got the handout. You can practice these things again, and you duplicated things because you're smart, and I didn't do that right now, did I? And so now I'm in trouble. If I go to edit, remember I can always revert to original. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to revert to original, and I'm going to, next time I go to work on this picture, I'm going to duplicate it first. Remember, control click, and duplicate it if I can just find my duplicate here. There I am, I'll duplicate it. So now I can work on the duplicated picture, and that will be nice. Okay, so questions. Let's have those questions. Right, remember, as always, I will take your emailed questions. Look, if you remember one thing from today, it's use the letter M to show you what the picture used to look like. M for make sure you remember what it used to look like. I don't know what the M stands for. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it is what it is. Okay, and this wraps it up. I'm tempted to give you all a graduation cap. I have just this one here, but you know, you've graduated from this series of courses, and I'm very proud of you. Y'all did well. Got a lot of good questions, a lot of good participation, and this is not the end. We will do more. We will do more, slightly different format. Afraid there'll be a fee, but I do have to eat, so I got to charge. And that's it. So thank you very much for coming. It's such a great time with these classes, and that there will be information coming to you shortly about what we're going to do next. Any suggestions you have, anything at all, please email them to me. Thanks again for coming, and stay safe, wear a mask, and we'll be seeing you soon. Okay, bye-bye.